And then at the very top, we have the money source. These are the guys with suits who deal with the funds, who deal with Hope Not Hate and the SPLC and the ADL. They're the ones who funnel the money from the rich guys and then get it to these lower tiers. And the amazing thing about it is they all work together. So you have someone like Cuomo, de Blasio. He says we have to stop hate in America. That goes down to the guy handling the money, goes down to the lesbian lawyers, go down to the shop callers, and eventually ends up with the rich academics and the scumbags who go out there on the streets and get into trouble. None of these top three ever get their hands dirty. Even after they're exposed and we follow the money, they receive no shaming, no nothing, because the media is complicit in all of this. The media needs all five of these factions in order to get rid of Trump, in order to push the DNC narrative. So they're complicit in all of it.
InfoWars. The most banned network in the world.
50,000 unstoppable watts. Hell, we're 100,000 WWCR. Oh, really? We're not just on the internet like the globalists thought. We're on hundreds of radio stations and our own banned .video. It's not going as easily as you thought it would, New World Order. That's why as soon as they launched all these attacks and the deep states directing Iran through Obama and John Kerry to try to trick Trump into a war, we're here exposing it. Boom, they hit us with the denial of service attacks, trying to take down the websites and the shopping cart today, but they failed. And we're still standing thanks to all of you. Infowars.com. Joining us is Gavin McInnes. He founded Vice magazine and TV and all of it, and of course has launched a lot of other major movements. Is why he's one of the only people as banned as I am. Freespeech.tv. And boy, what should we cover? It's always a treat to be able to get him on with this. Gavin, do you want to hit the latest Kavanaugh where they just admit that they just made it up? Again, why'd they do that? Why don't they care? You want to hit the World War IV brewing in the Middle East? Who do you think's really behind that and all this craziness? You want to hit the Democrats saying, of course we're going to take all your guns. Or maybe T.I. going after Candace Owens like, when was America great? I was like, yeah, this place sucks. That's why we're all trying to get in here. I mean, there's just so much craziness going on. It's getting nuttier and nuttier. Good to have you on from freespeech.tv.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, let's cover all of it. I mean, the TI thing, what a lot of people don't understand about Make America Great Again is no one's talking about going back to the 1900s. They're not talking about going back to slavery. They're really just talking about 1985. We want to get back to Ronald Reagan. We want to get back to when it was cool to make money and be proud of your country and be patriotic. And we didn't have, as we learned about in Montreal today, a one-room only changing room where little girls are next to a grown man totally naked drying himself off. We want to get away from that and back to maybe just 20 years ago.
Oh, wait. Let me stop you. I know that Chris Cuomo said 2 years ago that we need to have full-grown men in showers with kids at public schools, and if your 10-year-old girl doesn't want to see a man's ding-dong, that she's a bigot. That was his tweet. What's going on in Montreal?
So there's Montreal gets progressively more French as you go east, and in an area called Rosemont, they just opened up a pool, and there's one big changing room. Men, women, old ladies. Some 7-year-old girl is going to see a 70-year-old's testicles.
What's the headline? I want to pull that up. Montreal pool only has one changing room?
Yeah.
Wow, we'll get that pulled up. Please continue.
So when we say Make America Great Again, we obviously don't mean separate drinking fountains. We obviously don't mean slavery. We obviously don't want to endure a second civil war where if it was the same population distribution, it would be 5 million. We lost 620,000. That would be 5 million today. We obviously don't want 5 million to die fighting against slavery and against the Civil War, against the South fighting the North. We obviously don't want to return to that. We want to get back to the 80s when it was fun. Even the 90s, people were cool and getting along. Even in the early 2000s, you had Obama and Hillary talking about closed borders and Bill Clinton saying we need to deport.
What we want is 5-year-olds not being taught to get in vans with men and have sex with them. That's literally being taught in public schools. What we want is to not have San Diego State University, that's on Infowars.com, saying pedophilia is a good thing and just a sexual preference. What we don't want is totally open borders with people with leprosy and TB and typhus pouring across with no testing at all. You know, they had 6 months of testing, there at Ellis Island. What we want is to not hear we suck and not hear we're bad and not have the media hype race war constantly and stuff like that.
Exactly. We didn't talk about racial identity politics 10 years ago at all. And I saw a great graph of this, too, and it said how much times whiteness was mentioned in the media. And from the 50s on to 2000 almost, it was pretty normal. And then it's just spiked in the past 10 years to absurd proportions. Everything is race all the time. And black people are sick of it. They're sick of being defined by the race. Oh, you're a black person. It's sort of like, you ever hang out with a super tall guy who's like 6'6"? Every single where he goes, people say, "Oh man, how tall are you? What are you, like 6'5"?
He's like, I've never heard that before.
Yeah, do you ever play basketball?
My son has a birthmark on the side of his head, and every time a liberal woman would come around at the lake or the pool, they'd walk up and go, "Honey, did somebody hit you? Was it this man?" And by the time I was 5, he'd go, "That's my daddy. I have a birthmark." But the left is so neurotic and hyper weird, and they're always horning in on places they're not supposed to be inserting themselves, like, "We're going to come in your little girl's bathroom. They're going to see our ding-dongs."
Yeah, they really do feed on the darkness. This whole cool culture of "I hope I die before I get old" and the opioid epidemic. I would even argue that Greta Thunberg, the fact that she's suicidal, is a big part of her appeal, especially to Swedes, especially to Northern Europeans.
Yeah, let's talk about her flying around on jumbo jets everywhere and just arrogantly telling us what to do.
She's not just spreading eco-friendly environmental awareness. She's spreading suicide. She hates humans. She hates herself. She hates living. And the academic Swedes, they love the idea of cannibalism. In fact, they were promoting it last week, saying we should eat human flesh. They love this idea of mass suicide, mass death. They don't want to live. They don't love this country. They don't love living. She's evil.
It's totally whacked out. Let me ask you this. Where do you, because I asked you this like 3 years ago, and you said it's never going to end. When do we have peak SJW? I mean, I guess it's when they say burn down our houses, kill us, enslave us, overthrow reality. I mean, they're just not going to stop, and they get more radical by the day, and they're just coming out with everything that they're doing. What do you think they're up to?
Well, 2020 is going to be an absolute madhouse. You know, I think what surprises me about all this radical politics is how quickly the normal moderate liberals just inhale it all. It's sort of like Islam. I mean, we had the Wahhabists come in there, and is that what they're called? Yeah, whatever they're called, the Wahhabists. They come in.
100 years ago, most Muslim women were not even wearing headdresses or hijabs. Now they're all wearing beekeeper suits. So it's just a total radicalization.
Look at Iran in 1978. It looked like New York City, beautiful place. But they let themselves get infected by radical Islam, and it putrefied the entire religion. The left is like this with these radicals. Like Antifa will tell them something, and they'll go, "Oh, okay." Like there was just a cop who was fired. Sheriff fired him 7 days into his career because they found these posts that were 6 years old on Facebook when he obviously wasn't a cop, where he was saying things like, "I'd die for this country," and Islam is a threat to America, and pretty tame stuff. But because Antifa contacted the chief of police, boom, he's gone.
Hey, what about the volunteer firefighter who tried to join Proud Boys? So the city last week disbanded the whole fire department that'd been around 100 years and let the town burn down because, oh my God, firefighting is American. Get rid of that.
And that would be one thing if there's all these crying housewives saying he's ignored our family fires and this firehouse is racist and they won't go to black homes. They won't go to trans homes. We've had enough. I would understand that. You kind of got a point. No, it was just because Antifa contacted the city council member and he went, "Uh-oh, I don't want to be embarrassed by a bunch of radical anarchists who cover their face and attack people anonymously."
And don't they get that virtue signaling and groveling to these bullies only makes it get more intense, more crazy?
Yeah, and who kowtows to lunatics so fast? I mean, imagine the right, imagine conservatives, moderate libertarians kowtowing to Nazis. They get some radical alt-right group that denies the Holocaust and hates black people. They send out a tweet to a moderate conservative. He's like, okay. He's fired. I wouldn't want to offend you. Like, why does the left capitulate to their radicals?
And then we start Sieg Heiling or something. And that's the thing. When we come back, I want you to describe, as the founder of the Proud Boys and all the demonization and the latest on being convicted in New York for defending themselves on video, how would you describe Antifa? Because when you see them with their mask off at their own meetings, they look like they escaped from mental institutions. They can barely talk. They're eating their boogers. They have tracks all over their arms. They're devil worshippers. They're almost always into pedophilia. When they have undercover videos, that they'll have, oh, and we have the local NAMBLA chapter. Oh, great. And the leader's like, I'm NAMBLA too. And it's like weird meth head white pedophiles that everyone just bows. Oh, God, oh. And they go to Mitch McConnell's house and say, we're going to kill you. Twitter leaves that up. McConnell goes, look, they came to my house. And Twitter goes, you're banned. Oh, you can't speak out against them, saying they're going to stab you in the heart. All right, Gavin McInnes is with us. One more segment. I'm going to give the number out next segment to get into the World War IV scenario. Again, the Cold War was World War III. The situation, where do you think that's going with Iran and Saudi Arabia? What do you think about all these people saying America was never great? How do you respond to something like that when people are still fighting to get into the country? It's just asinine. But Gavin McInnes liked my last question. So in this segment, I want him to have the floor because you founded the Proud Boys. You got lied about, demonized for it. Now they're arresting Proud Boys that defend themselves. You've studied Antifa. You really know who they are, why they're protected by the corporate media, by universities. Who are the 5 factions of Antifa, and why are they so protected?
Okay, let's start at the bottom. At the very bottom, there's those meth head losers you were just talking about. They often are abandoned by their biological family. They often have a dead dad. One of the guys that attacked the Proud Boys in New York, Finbar Slonim, he goes by the name of Solange Slonim. He recently lost his dad. And those guys make easy prey for the top brass at Antifa. They're sort of like orphans. And you get people like Yvette Filarka who take them in and feed them and give them a place to stay, and then they're beholden to their hosts to do something for the cult. And make no mistake about it, this is a cult. They're the paramilitary wing of the DNC. They're protected by rich lawyers who work for globalists, but they are all members of this cult. And you don't really see this bottom tier too much in New York. It's more like Southern California. You see this in Berkeley. You see this in Oakland. Those are the panhandling losers. You also see them in Portland, these poor bastards. Now, one up from them, you have the rich white kids, and they are probably 70% of total Antifa everywhere. These rich white kids tend to be the children of academics, and they tend to be steeped in Marxism their entire lives. They're all wimps. They can't fight. They've never really been in a fight. They're very sadistic, and these are the kind of guys that will kick you when you're down, hit you with a pole while you're unconscious. Really cruel, bizarre people who I think feel insecure about their lack of conflict.
They will target people in wheelchairs. They will target old women. They will target children.
Yes. When you see the violence, it's hard to determine whether it's the rich kids or the poor kids because they're both brutally sadistic. But there's different purposes. When the poor kids attack, they're trying to appease their Yvette Filarka hosts and earn their keep. When the rich kids attack, they're trying to make up for the fact that they've had no troubles in their lives and want some culture. They want some grit. Above that, you have these sort of shot callers, and you'll see them at the Antifa rallies where they're on their phones the whole time. They determine who goes where. They're the sort of lieutenants of the battle, and they are one down from the rich lawyers. The lawyers are these they tend to be lesbians, I've noticed, and they're the ones who give out these beautiful signs that all match and have been done at Staples on foam core and have great graphic design, and they pass out all the flags. They're also the ones, by the way, who bequeath lawyers when these two bottom tiers get in trouble. And then at the very top, we have the money source. These are the guys with suits who deal with the funds, who deal with Hope Not Hate and the SPLC and the ADL. They're the ones who funnel the money from the rich guys and then get it to these lower tiers. And the amazing thing about it is they all work together. So you have someone like Cuomo, de Blasio. He says we have to stop hate in America. That goes down to the guy handling the money, goes down to the lesbian lawyers, go down to the shop callers, and eventually ends up with the rich academics and the scumbags who go out there on the streets and get into trouble. None of these top 3 ever get their hands dirty. Even after they're exposed and we follow the money, They receive no shaming, no nothing, because the media is complicit in all of this. The media needs all 5 of these factions in order to get rid of Trump, in order to push the DNC narrative. So they're complicit in all of it, and they just get away with impunity. I mean, they're at the point now where they just brag. They brag about how they kick our asses. And the night when Proud Boys got arrested and are facing 15 years for defending themselves, there was an earlier fight with Caleb Perkins, Finbar Slonim, the guy whose dad died, and Kai Russo. And these guys, among 7 other people, attacked a journalist, beat the crap out of him, took his stuff, nothing. No media attention, no tweets. I think they got probation and misdemeanor, no criminal records, nothing. Whereas the guys who actually defended themselves, stood their ground, as we learned is a sin from the Covenant Catholic schoolboys, those guys who stood their ground, 15 years, they'd be happy with 9 years. This is for a 17-second barroom brawl. And I'll be stunned if they get less than 2 years in prison, in jail, in New York State for defending yourself and being a patriot.
And Gavin, you're just on fire. I mean, you really are a smart guy. It's why they fear you. You launched, so much of the hipster movement. I mean, you've already launched 4 or 5 big movements. That's why they're so scared of you. That's why they're scared of me. We're not bragging. They're scared of anybody that is real, that people like, that people know are telling the truth. And you just laid it all out that is exactly who they are. And then Alexander Soros is now the biggest patron, putting hundreds of millions in. We even got documents from family members. We'll put it on screen for TV viewers, where they describe exactly what you said from the top down and the action plans and the battle plans. This is from level 3 and level 4 of the documents we got that are real documents, how they even work with police in Portland and in Baltimore and the areas they're allowed to attack, and how they're trying to cause the black population to rise up, particularly in Baltimore. This is smoking gun criminal racketeering terrorism. Confidential level 7, ABG. I mean, these people are an organized crime syndicate.
And the media ignores it. Look at the way they treat the SPLC. The NRA, had their president stepped down. They stopped doing their TV show. That's the end of the NRA. Oh, the media's dancing in the streets. They're obliterated. They're over. Meanwhile, the SPLC, Morris Dees is shamed. His entire career flushed down the toilet. The guy's exposed as a fraud. He's fired from the SPLC, which he founded. The president, Richard Cohen, steps down. Their head of legal steps down. They get Tina Chen to come in and try to save their brand. She ends up being involved in the Jussie Smollett thing. She's ruined. And the media still cites the SPLC on a daily basis as this valid source. The SPLC is enshrined in gold in the media's mind, in their narrative. Yet every other slightly right group is destroyed the second they have a grumpy Monday. We're not getting the new...
I meant to get to this article. I didn't even cover it, Sonny. There's so many cases. I'll pull up the name of stuff in a minute. Another black NFL former player got caught by police in Atlanta tearing up his own pizza place and writing monkey on the wall, but he got caught in the act doing it. I mean, this is happening everywhere. Almost all these attacks are staged. Yeah, there it is, WGCL.
Yes, and he included MAGA in that. It was all about MAGA, just like Jussie Smollett, and it's all about destroying Trump, and the media lets it happen. That story barely got off the page. Can you imagine if that was a true story and MAGA guys really did that? You'd never hear the end of it. Or remember that mentally ill, handicapped kid who was wearing a MAGA hat, and they kidnapped him and they tied him up and they cut him. They cut his scalp and they were screaming at him. The girl who did that, one of the girls got away with probation, no charges. Proud Boys, 15 years for defending themselves. Torture a mentally handicapped MAGA supporter, probation. So we have to remember that we're not just up against Antifa. They're just the useful idiots for their henchmen. We're up against
John Lewis Kaufman, former NFL player, caught spraying swastikas, MAGA, and monkey. The swastika's backwards. Good Lord. Gavin McInnes, you are on fire. People can find you at freespeech.tv. Please join us again soon. And I know you got a big tour coming up in Australia, so look forward to that. I'm thinking about going with you, but we'll see. All right. God bless you, brother. You're awesome. We'll be right back on the other side. I'm going to hit it all. Believe me, there's a lot of it straight ahead. Infowars.com.